Blessed good morning and welcome to our devotions. Trust that you had a peaceful night filled with rest. Many of us here in these days seem not to be getting our full hours of sleep, but there is a school of thought that there's something going on energetically, and the practice that is encouraged is that when you find yourself up in the middle of the night, that you take a few moments and just go into a meditation and see what Spirit is saying to you and through you. We continue our week as we look forward to this theme that we are exploring. Do you know who I am? And do I know who I am? It's a very important question because sometimes we speak of others and we really don't know who they are, but we speak of what we have received, and what we have received is only partial, and we oftentimes don't take the time to know the other person. And that is a common thing because in reality we do not take the time to know ourselves. And if I don't know who I am, it is very unlikely that I will have a sense of who you truly are. Reminding of our Path to Purpose retreat coming up in November, and there are some earlier bird options that we encourage you to take. So go to this website, clf-retreat.my.canva.site, and declare your interest. The Enneagram is a powerful tool that helps us not only to understand ourselves, but also to understand others. And in this day and age, when we are in many ways coming up against so many different types of individuals, persons from different cultures, persons from different backgrounds, sometimes we seek to enforce our way of being on other persons, and we are frustrated when we don't seem to be getting through. We're no longer in an age where everyone was forced to conform. We're now in a time where a person's individual needs are being respected. And so if that's the reality, then we can't force our way on others. It's best to have a sense of who they are, and then with an understanding of who they are and who I am, to be able to find ways that we can journey forward together. So this is a very important exploration that we are undertaking, and we are hoping that persons who have a desire to work with others and to understand themselves fully would make use of this opportunity and come and explore who they are, so that they may understand also who others are. Come therefore into our time of meditation as we, as usual, find that space within our being to in some way connect with the all that is. Let's come into that quiet space. Close your eyes if you're not driving. Just come into your heart space with a spirit of gratitude. Feel the stillness. Experience the emptiness within. Emptiness is not a bad thing, because it is out of the emptiness that something new manifests. So we breathe into that space, feeling ourselves grounded, feeling all that supports us, the earth, the chair on which we're sitting, or whatever we're resting on. We feel the support, that which holds us up. And we have this sense that we are supported in this world. We allow for the stillness. We allow for the free flow of all that is within. Letting go of our fears, concerns, and just experiencing that original self. That witness. That part of ourselves that is able to look on at ourselves and at times marvel at how we are so oblivious to the fullness of who we are, and the abundance that is ours. So we tune ourselves into that, in that original self, that self that came into this world to have these experiences that we are having now, and to use these experiences for growth, for advancement, for ascension. Rest in that awareness, that openness. Rest there as we listen to Scripture. When Jesus had finished these parables, he left that place. He came to his hometown and began to teach the people in their synagogue, so that they were astounded and said, "Where did this man get this wisdom and these deeds of power? Is not this the carpenter's son? Is not his mother called Mary? And are not his brothers James and Joseph and Simon and Judas? And are not all his sisters with us? Where then did this man get all this?" And they took offense at him. But Jesus said to them, "Prophets are not without honor, except in their own hometown and in their own house." And he did not do many deeds of power there because of their unbelief. One of the important things for me that has in many ways blossomed over the years, it's the importance of each person's experience. Unfortunately, through the millennia, the experience of the individual has oftentimes been thwarted, and we have focused mainly on the collective. We have not allowed persons to speak of their own experience. And so one of the things I try to do is to encourage you to say something about your experience, to jot down in the comments some word, some phrase that has touched you as you listen to the reading. But we are so accustomed not doing that, not speaking of our own experience, that we feel safe only to say good morning or blessings or have a good day. But there's so much more that you have to offer. It's not just about me. It definitely is not just about me. It's about every single one of us. When we come together, whether we come together at the same time or whether this is listened to at a different time, the energy that is there is what causes this presentation to be what it is. Each one of you is important to this presentation. You have to understand how spirit works and understand that there's no such thing as time and space. So no matter when someone picks this up, whether it is 10, 50 years from now, the reality is that they will have as much of an influence on this presentation as those of us who are listening to it as it is being aired. So there is that component that is there for all of us to participate in. So be of good courage. Be willing to stretch yourself somewhat. Take the chance. Just say something. Give us a thought, a word, a phrase, something that I can look back at the comments and reflect on from my own self. Some word coming from you that Spirit has led you to say, to offer, that would in some way enhance my journey. One or two of you have sent me WhatsApp messages after the session, and you don't understand how important those messages are for me, because it gives me a chance to hear what you've heard and for me to listen to you. But there are the comments there, and it is so easy for us to do this. Then not only would I hear your thought, but others would as well, and we would all benefit. This has been a long journey for me. I started this when we were in lockdown, and I've tried to continue it. But it is your turn. It is your turn to offer something to all of us so that we can all grow and ascend. Because that's why we're here. That's why we connect, so we can help each other. So beginning this morning, jot a thought down. Just jot the thought from what is it that was stirred when you heard the reading. Just a few words, so that I can be enriched in my own journey and my experience. And so can others as well. Do you know who I am? do I know who I am? The passage this morning speaks so strongly to this. Persons are there listening to Jesus' words. They are impressed by him. But in the midst of that being impressed, there's something that bubbles up. Who is he? Do we not know him? Do we not know his family? Do we not know his mother? Do we not know his brothers? His brothers are Judas and this person and this person. Do we not know them? And his sisters. If we know all this, where did he get all this from? And they took offense. How easy it is for us to be offended at the other. We pretend to know the other, but we don't. We know that which is in front of us. We know who he is derived from. We know his lineage. And oftentimes we may use that lineage to determine who he is. There's always that statement, could anything good come out of Nazareth? We're not interested in who the person is. We're interested in what we have known about him. Who's his family? Where did he come from? I remember being at an anniversary observance for the Pinelands Creative Workshop. And one of the presenters was making a point. And the point that they were making was that there was a time in the Pine when they had these 3 P's, and I can only remember 2 of them. One was pine. The next word was the name of a judge or a magistrate that began with a P. And the third one was prison. Once you came from the Pine and you went before this magistrate, you were going to prison. And it was out of that thinking to in some way correct that I believe it was persons like Delal Bradshaw and others who created the Pinelands Creative Workshop to respond to that. Because when persons went for a job and they were from the Pine, it was a PPP situation. And oftentimes they were not able to secure a job. These things that we read in Scripture are not of bygone days. They are of current experiences. We still do not know who the other is. We still assume that the other is that which we have heard about the other. We still make those judgments. And what is even more dangerous is that even ourselves, we do not take the time to discover. How many of us have, in our journey, utilized the opportunity to meet with someone and allow them to help us to explore our journey thus far? Because you see, one of the things we do as human beings is that the things that are not so nice, we bury them, and we bury them deep. And we look back. It's just like how persons speak of the good old days. And every so often someone will say, well, you know, the good old days weren't so good after all. But we still say the good old days because we're not willing to really look at the good old days and see the harm that might have been done. We pretend and we fool ourselves that we have gotten past all that stuff, but we are now here. And the mere fact that we can only remember the good stuff would indicate that we've gotten over it. No. The fact that we can only remember the good stuff is because we have not even dealt with the other stuff. So we live this pretend life, this external life, without a true reckoning of who we really are and how we have gotten there. This is one of the reasons that we have at CLF been seeking opportunity to bring to persons the Enneagram, for example. It is not the only methodology. There are other methodologies. But the idea is we need to know ourselves. We need to look back at ourselves and to see what has contributed to where we are now. Because there is much that might have contributed in a negative way that continues to sabotage us as we journey. You see, the thing is when I'm able to do that kind of work with myself and I can understand that, then I can better engage you, because I know you are not your mother's child. You're not your brothers and sisters' connections. You're far more than that. I can know that only because I know that I am far more than that. When Jesus spoke to the people, initially there was this sense of awe. But jealousy is a harsh thing. And sometimes we prefer to go with the little we know about a person, because it enables us to put ourselves above that person. Because we have this sense of hierarchy. And there are levels. And we make jokes about it in our world. Even you would hear someone pass a joke that would say something like, you know, I wouldn't use a full terminology, but give a fella a set of keys and all of a sudden he becomes the manager. He becomes more important than the other fellas that don't have a key. That's how we are. We're always seeking to be one above the other, because we've got to find meaning somehow, and that's the best we can do as far as we think and know. But we can do far better if we're only willing to engage ourselves and truly understand who we are and how we got where we are, and what are the things that continue to act against our growth and our becoming. And once we can dismantle those things, we set ourselves free to soar. To soar and be all that God has intended for us to be. Jesus couldn't do any great work among his own people. because they had already boxed him off. And no matter how powerful he was, once he's boxed off, he's boxed off. And that happens to all of us. No matter what gift we have within us, if we are boxed off, we are boxed off. Even if that boxing off is from our own selves. And oftentimes it is, because we haven't taken the time to really look and see what it is and who it is that we are, how it is that we got where we are. We haven't taken the time. And so we box ourselves off. So this morning I want to encourage us to hear that scripture, hear the response to Jesus, and give some thought to one, who have I boxed off? Who have I boxed off and in some way prevented them from delivering their gift to the world? Even if I felt justified, even if I thought I had good reason, who did I box off? And two, in what ways have I boxed myself off and therefore hinder my own ability to deliver my gift to this world? In what ways have I boxed myself off? Because this is important. How have I boxed myself off? Through not knowing who I really am. But before I leave, I offer one more. What can I do? It's not enough for me to just say to you, this is what you've done. I also need to say to you, this is what you can do. You can take the time and discern this journey of yours. What has made it up? And how have the things that have made it up influenced you? Whether in a positive way or a negative way. And how can you use this knowledge to be the best version of yourself that you possibly can be? This is important. And I trust that you will use the opportunities presented to find that self and to allow that self to grow.